Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thumbs up and a voice. That's fantastic. My name is Councillor Lisa Dominato, Chair of the PNE Board. I'm pleased to call this public meeting of the PNE Board of Directors to order this evening. And just as we start off, I'd like to acknowledge we are on the lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. And just a couple of housekeeping items with this agenda, because it is a public meeting. Just recognizing that as part of our agenda, we do have 5 items this evening on the agenda. PNE staff will introduce and present those items, followed by questions by Board of Directors. And then that will be followed by an opportunity for questions or comments from members of the public. And we simply ask that you keep those questions or comments up to no more than 5 minutes. And we'll continue. This is virtually, and just to acknowledge as well that this meeting is being recorded by our staff simply for the purpose of minuting the meeting, and it is being live streamed on the PNE's YouTube channel this evening. So with that, we will proceed with our agenda for this evening. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda by a member of the board? Maury, I see your hand up. Can I get a seconder? Patrice, all in favor? You raise your hands. And that carries. Thank you. Our second item is adoption of the public portion of the minutes from December 2nd, 2021. Are there any corrections before I get a mover on that to those minutes? No? Can I get someone to move the minutes? Ty? Seconder? Patrice? All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. We'll proceed with staff reports, and those staff reports, the first item is item 3.1. This is the Hastings Park PNE Master Plan update, and I'll turn that over to our CEO, Shelley, to introduce.
Yes, I'm actually going to throw it to Jeff, who is going to lead the intro over to project manager.
Thanks, Shelley.
I'm just going to ask everyone to mute their mics if possible. We just had a bit of feedback there. Good afternoon, Hastings Park PNE board and neighbors and folks joining us online. Just happy to have the quick and easy job here of introducing Thomas Chen to the group. Thomas is our senior project manager and has recently joined the PNE after quite an extensive search and recruitment exercise. But we're incredibly pleased to have Thomas here. He's a quick study and he's moving things along very well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Thomas. We'll go, just if you want to buzz through 2 slides there, Sal, we'll go to Thomas to provide an update, all master plan related items, specifically as it relates to the amphitheater, some of the planning of the daylighted stream and the infrastructure plans that we need to finalize. And obviously there's some prerequisite work as part of those plans too that are required for the amphitheater redevelopment. So with that said, I'm very pleased to turn it over to our new colleague, Thomas Chen.
Thank you. I'm very happy to join here to give you guys an update and an overview to the projects that's happening since the pandemic, and then the pace is being picked up. So the first project I have here is the PNE Amphitheater redevelopment project. Sal, if you can move to the next slide, I'll give you guys a quick timeline and the major milestone on the project update. Going back a little bit to the history, June 2021 was when the City Council approved the project. And since a little before my time joining the PNE in March 2022, this year, the RFP is being developed and posted, advertised, and the award proponent is Reverie Architect. They started work shortly after the award in April 2022. So in this summer, during the month of, starting in May, June and July, there will be a very extensive engagement asking for both functional and programming related work to facilitate the first initial schematic design. That's going to continue into the fall, and hoping according to our project schedule, November 2022, we should have an initial design for approval. If we can move to the next project, which is the daylighted stream. So of the amphitheater, daylighted stream, and the infrastructure project are the three kind of more prioritized component within the master plan that we are giving you the update right now. The proposed daylight stream is coming, feeding off from the Century Park and running through the heart of the park, amphitheater, and along the part of the Hastings racetrack going to the Broad Inlet. So this kind of preliminary drawing will show you how the stream right now is being envisioned. If we were to move up on to the next slide, please. The purpose of the daylight stream is multiple fold. It kind of enhances the overall park-like feature and complements with the rest of the components within the master plan. The initial, the RFP was targeted for for July 2022 this year. The RFP only deal with the design and flow planning scope of the project. The particular RFP is going to be awarded in August, and with the consultant on board in September to deal with the work. The City of Vancouver's Park Board and the engineering department leads this RFP process and the overall leadership of this project. If we could move on to the next slide, please. The third large component of the master plan is the infrastructure upgrades. It deals with the existing water, electrical, and utility structure that we need to support, not just the overall master plan, but with the focus on the amphitheater redevelopment, the daylight stream, and playland. In parallel process with the previous two projects we discussed, this particular project will have a similar timeline as a daylight stream. We want to work on the scope of the work, having the RFP put out in June, July period of time, and hoping for a consultant to be on board in September. The idea is when the three projects are moving forward, three different proponents and consultants can work hand in hand together to identify the synergy and potential conflict if there's any interaction with all three projects happening at the same time. That's my kind of high-level update at this point, and it's moving forward quite nicely right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. At this time, I'll invite questions from the board. And so if you can, I'm just going to try to make sure I can see if you can raise your hands and just signal to me that you want to ask questions or comment. Maury, go ahead.
Hi, Thomas. Thanks so much for the update. Just wondering, from a risk management perspective on the amphitheater project, to any risks that you see to scope, schedule, or budget on the amphitheater project?
Yes. So to be blunt, given the current overall supply chain, global supply chain issue, and the climate, one of the biggest risks we see right now is the delay in actual construction work and the rising cost of that construction. So when we are working on the design and engagement of all the feedback from everybody, including community and stakeholders, we're kind of put that as an overall hanging umbrella, thinking about, well, it's nice to have that, but do we really have the money and ability to implement that in the next little while when all the things are on the rise right now?
And maybe just a quick follow-up to that is,
Yes.
Are there risk management protocols in place to manage and oversee that risk profile?
So at this point, it's not so much to do with the risk of the project itself. It has to do with the trade-off of some of the features and amenities we would like to have for the broader community to enjoy. Mm-hmm. We just have to put them in the party list and saying, are those things good to have, and can we afford them? Should we do that in a secondary stage, or right now in all one shot? What physically makes sense, or in terms of programming? So one example of that, it would be, for example, we would like to have this venue being able to host large events or small events for some of the local cultural groups. But for the larger guys, they may want to have everything in one place, you know, being audio, visual, and everything. But for the local cultural group, that might not be their primary concern. So we're trying to be flexible in that sense that we're spending money and design works and all the scope of that so that we can make everybody have their best fit for use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for the question, Maury. Other questions for the board? I'm not seeing any. And then we do have an opportunity for members of the public who are on the line to ask questions. And again, I may need some help just triaging if we are a number of you. So just bear with me as I'm trying to navigate the screen. But if you can either use the hand function on WebEx or raise your hand, or if you're in audio, you'll have to signal to me that you want to ask a question. I think I see Rick's hand up. Why don't we start with Rick? Thanks, Rick.
Yes, and I'm speaking to you from my mother's dining room table in Toronto, so aren't I dedicated? Just about features of the pavilion. We sometimes get touring shows through Vancouver, like Cirque du Soleil, dinner and entertainment, things like that, and they often come in the off season. And there's fewer and fewer places where they're going to be able to set up. Cirque du Soleil there is usually right beside Science World, but that property is going to be developed by Concord sooner rather than later, and they may be running out of places to go. Is there some thought to the amphitheater being able to accommodate a show like that?
Great question, Rick. I see Shelley raising her hand. I think she'll respond to that.
Yeah, I think the best answer to that, Rick, is that we're looking to try and make it as flexible in its use for a wide range of users. It won't just be a concert venue. We do expect a lot of different arts and culture groups, and we do expect it to be able to accommodate up to 10,000 people. So a show like Cirque du Soleil does have a number of different configurations. We do arena tours with them now in the Coliseum. And we are, in a number of discussions with groups about where shows like that can fit. I can't say that we will be able to accommodate absolutely everything, but we are looking to be able to accommodate as wide a range as possible and as wide a flexibility in terms of the size of audience as possible.
Thanks for that question, Rick. Did you have any other questions? No. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us from Toronto. I am just looking to see if there's any hands raised or anyone on the line who has a question, because I think some people have joined just by audio only. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So, oh, Shelley, go ahead.
Lisa, I just wanted to make one comment. Sal, I'm wondering if you can go back a couple slides to the amphitheater. Time? Yeah. Next, nope. Sorry, the next slide there. Yeah. One of the community questions that was sent to us in writing to be able to address was, at what point would there be a public consultation involving the community? And they wanted that question answered. And so I think in order to answer that question during this presentation, what we see is that we do have Reverie bringing on the groups needed to facilitate all the consultation. We expect, and that is informed planning, we do expect them to be doing a series of engagement and consultation between now and November. Lisa, you did commit at one of our previous board meetings that there would be an opportunity for public to have some input to that. And that will take probably a couple of different forms through our community advisory committee. But we can't specify timing yet because the plan is still being put in place. But sometime between now and November, there will be an opportunity for the public to have some input to the functional programming. I know everybody would like to be heard on the issue of sound and making sure that they are heard loud and clear about the steps that we're taking around sound. So I just wanted to set the group's mind at ease. There will be an opportunity to do that. Don't have specific timing yet, but we will keep those stakeholders who have been vocal about wanting to be involved apprised as the schedule gets flushed out.
Thanks for that update, and appreciate that community question as well coming in. So thank you for that. Since there are no other questions on that item, we'll move on to item 3.2 on our agenda, which is the 2022 community update. I believe is it Karen that's leading that off? Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you very much, Lisa. Welcome, Board of Directors and community. I'm going to present to you today the plan for 2022 around our community programming and events, and I'll also answer some questions that we've received recently as it relates to staffing and so forth. In 2019, the PNE put forward a strategic plan with 5 pillars. The one that I'm going to speak to today is building community and social good. Next slide. In 2022, in February of this year, the PNE Hastings Park Board of Directors approved a revision to the Cultivate Community and Social Good to include integration of diversity, equity, and inclusion into business planning, building strong neighborhood and community connections, and a focus on sustainability and enhanced park access. For this evening's purpose, I will be speaking to the steps and progress we've made towards the building strong neighborhood and community connections. Next slide, please. The strategic directives under this particular objective is to collaborate with the Community Advisory Group and Neighborhood Focus Group to enhance community engagement at Hastings Park, enhance our communication channels with the area, and to ensure all events on site have clear mitigation strategies to alleviate impact in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. So for today, I'm going to go through the progress report. So as it relates to community relations, we're underway with our recruitment for our communications and community manager, which we have an anticipated arrival of this position in early August. We are continuing to develop deeper BIA collaborations. We have meetings ongoing at this time. We've recently revitalized the newsletter content through COVID so that we could stay in contact with the community and increase the volume of content instead of just strictly advertising and notifications. In addition, we're in progress of redeveloping our community website pages as well as our social content to continue to tell the story of everything that happens at Hastings Park. And finally, in October, we will be reinstating our neighborhood focus group, which will be an opportunity to have much more focused conversations and engagement on topics relating to Hastings Park. Next slide, please. In regards to the community advisory group, the priorities of the community advisory group are to learn about the PNE and its initiatives, to share community's feedback, as well as helping to ensure community has accurate information about the PNE. It's to provide community perspective on event impacts, to be aware of the master plan project status, to suggest input to PNE community programs and initiatives, and to discover ways to help the PNE develop community communication channels. The 2022 members, the advisory group is made up of 10 individuals, and for the 2022, we have 5 returning members, and we have 5 new members. And at this time, I'm going to call on the members. I'm not sure because everybody's name doesn't necessarily match who's on the line. So I'm just going to call, and if you're present, I'll have you do a quick, brief introduction of who you are and how long you've been on the advisory group, or if you're new to the advisory group. Our first candidate is Stuart Anderson. No, I believe Patricia is on the line. Patricia is on the line.
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody. It's Patricia Barnes. I'm with the Hastings North Business Improvement Association, and I've been on the advisory group for quite a while, and we're returning to continue to represent the BIA on the advisory group and stay involved with the PNE and Hastings Park.
Thank you. Linda Chow. Next one is Mayura Calling. Andrea Dowd-Deaver, I don't believe I saw her name on the list. Courtney was not able to join us this evening. I do believe Jason is on the call.
Yeah, hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jason McGarry. I'm a a member of the Hastings Community Association Board. I'm also a pilot at WestJet. Please don't hold it against me, and I can't do anything about the delays. I've lived in the neighborhood since 1999, and some of the favorite things for me about the PNE and the grounds are the Italian Gardens, the bird sanctuary, and both of my kids went through Circus West. And frankly, I think the sanctuary got us through COVID quite nicely. We used it every day. I'm a past president of the Hastings Community Association. I'm currently sitting as the vice president, and my goal is to collaborate with the community advisory group and bring back any questions that the board may have, and work together towards our common goals in the community.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Debbie, are you on the call today?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hi, I'm Debbie Schechter. I'm from Vancouver. I lived in the area for about 20 years, and I'm looking forward to joining as a new member. And just quickly, I love the fact that the area involves both mediated and unmediated spaces. I love the green lung right in the middle of these important transportation corridors. And I'm also a great fan of all of the exhibition, PNE, and other uses of the space. So it's a pleasure to be able to participate. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. Dino, are you on the call today? And our last member I'd like to introduce you to is Ruby Wong. Are you on the call today?
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ruby Wong, and I'm a new member of the advisory group. I work for Vancouver Coastal Health. I am I'm occupational therapist by training in community mental health, but now I currently work as a clinical planner for virtual health. I've been living in the area for about 6 years, but I've been coming to PNE since I was a preschooler as well, and my first job was at the fair when I was 14. So yeah, the PNE is very much close to my heart, and I have 2 little kids, so we've been going to play micro footy on the weekends and biking around, and we enjoy the farmers market and all the other fun things that happen. So thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you, Ruby. I'd like to welcome all of our 2022 members. And on behalf of Jeff and myself, we really look forward to working with you throughout the next 12 months. Next slide, please. So what does the next 12 months look like for the Community Advisory Group? Towards the end of June, we'll be having our welcome and introductions orientation. We will be doing a preliminary overview of the organization and of Hastings Park's operations. And we will be giving an update, a deeper dive into the master plan update. In September, we'll again be doing an overview of our general business update. We will be doing a debrief. This is when we go back to the community advisory group for their feedback on Fair, Playland, and we'll start to talk with them about what is going to be happening as it relates to the PNE winter event and get their feedback and involvement through there. We'll also be bringing to the community advisory group at that time the new public art at Hastings Park policy review prior to it coming to the board of directors. And then we'll also be talking about the 2023 ticket donation program and outreach programs. Through December, we're going to again start off with a general business update. We'll be talking about Fright Nights feedback. We will be going into the PNE Hastings Park business planning for 2023, and we'll be talking about 2023 neighborhood events. And then into February, after the business update, we'll be talking about doing the PNE winter debrief, event debrief. We will be returning to the PNE Hastings Park update, and then there'll be continued topics added in each month as business requires. Next slide, please. In regards to the community programs and initiatives, next slide, please. So we have a series of things going on right now. We are reintroducing the Playland Neighborhood and Fair Neighborhood Ticket Program is being reinstated. There is a neighborhood mailing going out to be distributed the week of June 20th, where there's 200 homes within the vicinity of Playland that will be getting 2 tickets to Playland. Within 4,000 homes of the PNE in Hastings Park, 2 tickets will be given to each household. And then for Fright Nights, we'll be doing 2 tickets to the same 200 homes. But we also want to celebrate and bring the neighborhood together. So on July 7th from 6 to 9, we will be doing a Playland neighborhood party. Invitations will be included in these mailouts. And it is also will be posted to the community page on June 16th. And we're including in the community newsletter that will be distributed this week. PNE winter event. We are finalizing what the plans are and what types of ticketing we will be doing. It'll either be a ticket program or it'll be another neighborhood party. We have a neighborhood public skate where we'll return in December and in February. We have modified ticket donations running through 2022 with a new program to be launched in 2023. Through the latter part of the fall, we will be formulating what the new youth council format would look like starting for 2023. And we will be working on the 2023 community business planning to include new neighborhood events. Next slide, please. I also wanted to overview what our event mitigation plans are for the year as we are back to normal operating event calendar. In regards to sound, at each concert, the PNE team measures sound throughout the neighborhood. You'll see this orange boxes on the screen. We've identified those as areas that we've had sound challenges in the past, so we're always going out to those areas to measure what the sound readings are. And if the sound exceeds the bylaw, we will have the PNE event manager notify the tour production to turn down and make alternative sound adjustments. We set a minimum standard for the amphitheater sound system requirements. So we have a basic sound system that we ask the different tours to include in their production, knowing that the sound, there's less sound bleed from the amphitheater when it follows these systems and setups. During the Amphitheater Music Festival specifically, we have a PNE sound technician that works on site directly with the tour production for the events to manage the sound. And then during the same time, we also have community engagement. Emails are managed at all events with a sound reader dispatched to any address that provides sound feedback so that we can ensure that we're within the sound allotments. Next slide, please. For cleanliness and safety goals, we do have reinstated for 2022 the neighborhood cleanup. Will be reinstated for fair, Fright Nights, and for amphitheater music festivals. Public safety patrols neighborhood during events to advise facility maintenance of any areas impacted by garbage from the event at Hastings Park. We maintain park and pedestrian pathways. Real-time comments through social, emails, and phone inquiries are responded to, and adjustments are made as required. Public safety works with VPD and community policing to increase presence at all events at Hastings Park pre, during, and post-event hours. And the PNE is also designated as a safe place by VPD where anyone can seek shelter if they're feeling unsafe, a place where they'll be welcomed and they can call police and wait for officers to arrive. Next slide, please. In regards to congestion, the PNE is active with all methods of transportation to the site. We work with car share companies to ensure relocation of cars from the neighborhoods. We also provide additional designated parking where possible. PNE collaborates with our partners at Translink to increase public transportation during PNE events. We work with the VPD to manage traffic control during large festivals, concerts, and the PNE Fair. We communicate with event attendees through a know before you go emails on parking, transit, and rideshare best practices. And our leadership team also works with the City of Vancouver to mitigate construction impacts in the area and communicate significant projects to neighborhood through community newsletters and emails. Next slide, please. In addition, with the community program, we also ensure that we have access to Playland and to the fair. So here's an example of some of the access programs that we offer. We have complimentary attendant passes for people provided through the Access To program, which is a pass that is done through Easter Seals to honor guests who require a companion or an accompaniment to come into the park. This year, we also honor City of Vancouver's Leisure Access program at Playland, where guests who are members of the LAP can also show their card for 50% off Playland admission. On site, we also have ride accessibility programs where guests who need more time loading and unloading on the ride can go in an alternate queue to ensure seamless positive experience. And this is valid during both fair and playland. I believe that may be the last slide. Yes. With that, I turn it over to you, Lisa, before I go on to the next one.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Karen, and appreciate that. And I just, before I open it up to board for questions or comments, I do want to just also welcome the new members to the Community Advisory Group. And thanks for introducing yourselves for those of you who are able to join us, as well as thank you to the returning members for your service, and appreciate the comments about from those of you about Circus West and Microfooty, because I also happen to live in the neighborhood and my kids have enjoyed both those programs. So just acknowledging that as well. So I will turn it over to the board right now for questions, and then we can go to members of the public. Not seeing any questions, I think, from the board at this time. So I will ask if there's any questions from those of you joining us on the line, and as via WebEx, if you have questions from the either advisory group members or others. I'm not seeing any questions or hands, so I think we'll continue on then. Thanks for that update, Karen. Looks fantastic. And so item 3.3 of our agenda is the year-round business update.
And that is myself as well. So Sal, next slide, please. Just giving you a quick overview, we have a whole series of events starting at the beginning of June, going straight through until the end of September. Concert seasons are back running in the Forum, Coliseum, and the amphitheater. We have a series of Circus West showcases, as well as a series of trade and consumer shows. And Roller Skate Club continues to operate their weekend events as well as their weekday training. Next slide, please. And then we also have a series of continued events ongoing to the site, everything from the Urban Roots Market to Playland to the PNE Fair running through August. Our amphitheater season is scheduled to end the weekend of September 24th. And with that, I believe that's the last slide on that one. Yes.
Thanks, Karen. Questions from the board? I see Patrice's hand up. Go ahead, Patrice.
Thank you. Yeah, quick question. Just your sense is obviously things are returning maybe to a bit more normal. What's your sense of sort of the activity? Are we getting closer to what you would expect in a normal year? Any thoughts you have? And I know we're still, it's all still changing, but.
That's a great question, Patrice. We are currently tracking to meet all of the budget targets, which was an increase to 2019. So currently we are on track to exceed 29 concerts, for example, by 3, family shows by 2, trade and consumer shows by 2. So we are on track to actually be busier than what 2019 was.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you.
If everything falls as it should.
Yes, yeah, no guarantees on any of that right now, right?
That's right.
Thanks for the question, Patrice. Anything further? No?
Not from me.
Okay, thank you. Just looking to see if there's any other questions from the board. Not seeing any. Any questions from members of the public? Also not seeing any. Okay, thanks for that, Karen. Our next item is 3.4, Tech Services, Fire and Archives Update. I'll turn that over to David.
Yeah, happy to give both the board and the community an update. Just really just an update on, since the fire happened on February 20th, is that we did lose 23 vehicles of various types in the fire itself, with 18 of them being insured by ICBC, or work vehicles largely, and some other vehicles that we're still waiting to get a response back from Zurich, our insurance company. The good news is that no one wants to have a fire, no one was injured. That's the most important thing, and that we do have good insurance coverage, and so we're still going through that process. you know, and what I would say is we're just awaiting the issuing of the demolition permit by the City of Vancouver so that we can remove the damaged building and begin the rebuilding process, which the reconstruction process, which I'll talk about. We've got some challenges because we lost a lot of signage and things like that that you would use for wayfinding at the fair. And there's specific, and we're going through the process of replacing those things that we know we're going to need again, and being quite conscious about not simply replacing things because they were pre-existing, and being smart just about how we do use our funds from insurance. The next slide, Sal. We were able to react quite quickly, and because of course the importance of site maintenance here. And when we lost most of the tools of the trade that are used by our groundskeeping crews, and our paint shop, and also where we make signs. And so we were able to react quickly, and our insurance company did secure the services of Belfour Restoration to clean up the site, to make sure that it's there's not a matter of safety for our employees or the public, obviously. And we were able to quickly secure some short-term rentals for our team to use. Sal, I think that we've got a couple of slides here, just to so that the members of the board and the neighborhood understand that we are operational. There's just a quick sample of some of the things we rented, and we continue to have those they're being rented on an ongoing basis while we go through the process of deciding what permanent structures that we need to have replaced. And of course, what kind of vehicles do we need to replace or secure, given some of the challenges that there are in the world of certainly with pickup trucks, is there's a long lead time to order them. And we're just beginning those conversations actually this week here to look at what's the permanent solution. But the news is we're operational, the grounds are being maintained, and I know Shelley's going to answer a question here a little later in our meeting as well. Sal, if we could jump forward. And so here's just a bit of a rough timeline as we understand it. We're expecting the demolition permit, and it'll take about 2 weeks once we receive the permit to remove the building. It's not visible from sort of the public areas, but it's an area back of house in our tech services yard in the northwest corner of the site where we stored vehicles and equipment for use by our not only our gardening team, but our maintenance folks and others, like our plumbers and our electricians. And we're working through the process now to replace the building that was destroyed, and the insurance company will cover those costs. We obviously have to go through a permitting process, which we have to respect, but we're expecting to get a permit in approximately October, and it will take approximately 6 months to replace the building that was destroyed, and to repair about 25% of a building that was damaged but is repairable. And so really what we're trying to say is that we expect to be back in full services or back to normal operations in April of 2023. The good news is that the reconstruction process will take place behind or in a secure area next to our technical service or tech services building, so that we shouldn't interrupt the public and or have to worry about access for heavy equipment and things like that. So we think it'll be fairly self-contained and won't disturb the neighborhood. And I think I'll just quickly speak about archives for a second. We do have a number of significant archival items that are important that are already with the City of Vancouver, including photographs and things that are quite sensitive to obviously temperature and humidity. But we are in the process of beginning to transfer under a collection donation agreement more of our archival items to the city, and it will take between 4 and 6 shipments. There's about 1,200 boxes of items that we have on our site that some of it dates back to the early 1900s. And obviously we're going to send the most important items first to the city archive, but just wanting everybody to know that we're mindful of our history, and we are making progress in transferring those items to the city archives, who are much better positioned to store them in a permanent way. And with that, Councillor Dominato, I don't think I have another. Yep, I'll just stop, and happy to answer any questions that people may have.
Thanks, David. That's super helpful. I'll look to the board first to see if there's any questions from board members. Oh, and I think I see Patrice's hand up.
Just a
Go ahead,
really
Patrice.
quick one, and maybe I missed it, David, but on the fire, is so back up and running 2023, is there any significant impact to the work, productivity or etc. in the interim, or you've been able to accommodate all of that?
We've been, Patrice, been able to accommodate, especially our sign shop was basically destroyed. And so we've been using a third party to manufacture signs for us on an as needed basis. We're obviously, now that we understand the timeline, looking at some more interim space rentals that could be used for those types of activities. But our team has been fairly flexible, and we've also been able to utilize some other spaces on our site that are not intended to be used permanently, but will work in the interim. But now that we're actually having a meeting tomorrow to do a more realistic needs assessment, now that we have this timeline with our frontline employees, so that we really do understand what we need to get them from today until April or May of next year when we're back to a normal.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm glad to hear you're looking into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrice. Shelley, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I think I would just add to that it was, obviously very distressing for the teams that do work up there. And so there was, some lost productivity in the couple of weeks after that as everybody worked through their, personal emotions around having their workspace lost and a lot of personal items lost. But I do really want to commend the team for working closely with them to find out what they needed to get back up and running as quickly as possible, and taking the rentals and things very seriously to get them to get them back up. We're not at 100%, but I feel like we got them what they needed in terms of tools and office space as quickly as we possibly could have, in light of the supply chain issues and stuff that everybody is facing. So I just really want to congratulate the team on taking that step.
Yeah, we were just to further augment that, a lot of the hand tools and things that were involved in the fire were repairable. And so it's more larger vehicles and things that are going to need to be replaced. But with respect to the tools that are there, we're fortunate enough, like things like gardening equipment were readily accessible. And so we were able to replace those quite quickly, so that our team could get back to work, and obviously in a phased approach. And also just letting the board know that we did replace all of the personal items that were lost.
Thanks, Shelley and David, for that additional context and information. And are there any further questions from board directors? I don't see any. I will then turn it over to see if there are any questions or comments from members of the community. Rick, go ahead.
With the items that are going to be replaced, and I'm thinking of the building itself and all those wayfinding signage that needs to be replaced, has there been some thought around design elements that would help the PNE meet its DEI mandate? So I'm thinking elements, whether that's color schemes or graphics, logos, that would recognize First Nations, the LGBT community, other members of the community. Because I think there's an opportunity with renewal to bring these kinds of recognition elements into the PNE landscape.
Fantastic question, Rick. Shelley, do you want to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to address that. Thanks for asking it, Rick. So we are being very careful to not just replace one for one, and going through with intention in terms of what we need and what that looks like overall. There are event branding guidelines that some of the signage needs to fall within, but at the same time, DEI is absolutely, as it is with I think all organizations at this time, at the forefront of our thought process as well. So we will be looking at, I think you'll start to see at this fair some spaces, some areas that we are looking at to be more inclusive. And you'll start to see some messaging and or efforts being made in that regard. So it may not apply specifically just to the replacement of signage, but it is on our radar to move forward as well.
Thanks, Shelley. That's great, and really great question, Rick. Thank you. Any other members of the community that have questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any. And then I think our last item, 3.5, was community questions. And Shelley, I know we had some in writing. Was there any? Oh, there it is. Look at that. Thank you, Sal. Shelley, are you going to address this?
Yeah, so this is what I spoke to just a little bit with the amphitheater project. The question came in specifically about community input related to the amphitheater. And so just addressing that there is planning happening right now and a timeline in place that a lot of consultation will be happening with a variety of stakeholders between now and November. But there will be a point in time where it is made available for the community to have their say. Again, don't have exact timing and exact format yet, but it is coming, and we will make sure that all those that need to know will be advised of it in enough time to be able to participate.
That's great. And that was the written question we received in advance, correct?
That was a written question that we received in advance, and then there was a second written question that I believe Jeff is going to speak to.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the second question is what's behind the seemingly deteriorating state of the park's vegetation, specifically as it relates to the Italian gardens. And you can see the question there, but more or less, one thing that I'll say is that we typically are proud to stand up in front of whomever to say how much effort and pride we take in maintaining the site. And it's still, of course, that is unwavering. But with the pandemic, like all levels of our operation, we have struggled. We had to lay off a majority of our staff early in the pandemic. And so just want to give a bit of a background here of how we've been managing and what our challenges are. And I appreciate the question, and we're going to provide a bit of a humble answer here. So pre-COVID, of course, we had a full complement of, we had a gardening manager and 11 gardeners, and basically a full fleet and crew. And with the pandemic, we lost our gardening manager, and we laid off virtually our full team as we had to in many areas. We still maintained the grass as much as we could. Those that were retained with the highest seniority, i.e. our 4 persons and other staff, would cut the grass from time to time. But of course, we were stretched thin across the whole site, trying to address other challenges on the site as well, whether it was graffiti, broken windows, things like that. But I am very pleased to say that we are growing back in numbers. Obviously, this labor market is incredibly challenged to hire in now too. So the recruitment has been difficult to find folks that meet the criteria that we're looking for in terms of horticultural background and trades and red seals and things like that. But we are looking to increase our rosters to the 2019 levels. Currently, we do have 1 gardening 4-person and 4 full-time gardeners. And that is a little light still. And so we are looking to onboard some more here as well, especially as we're kind of in the peak of the gardening season. It's one of those days, it's that time of year where you mow the lawn and you look back and it's already grown by the time you're finished, not to mention the weeding and things like that. So we know that Italian Gardens areas has fallen below what we have been proud of in the past in terms of standards. Also, the fire that David had mentioned didn't really help the start of our season or our busy season this year either, losing all our ride-on mowers and other equipment and even handheld tools and things like that. So we really got off on a challenging start this year, recovering from the pandemic. And also we're looking at some plumbing repairs as well that we're trying to fast track as well. So whether it's Italian Gardens, Momiji Gardens, if you go to the next slide, Sal, our priorities are still on maintaining the site to the levels that we want to be proud of. But of course, when we are short resourced for this temporary period of time, we need to prioritize. And priority right now, of course, goes to safety, addressing any hazards in any park space that we may find or may be reported by park users or security staff that patrol the site 24/7. So that's the priority. And then, of course, keeping the lawns mowed and eventually irrigated so that the park stays in good repair and that we don't have erosion or other challenges down the road. Graffiti mentioned before, we, like many areas of the city, unfortunately, there are some folks out there that enjoy tagging things right now. And so we're spending a lot of time doing that and any other sorts of vandalism and challenges on our site. And then, of course, our pest management and just dealing with the weeds and other invasives becomes a priority down the list a little bit. And then we have had some irrigation challenges, as I mentioned. So we have some plumbers coming on to look at the getting the fountains turned turned on and doing some minor repairs to some of those water features. And then we're going to continue to push for recruitment with gardeners to those pre-COVID levels. And then once we get back up, we'll get to the park to the level it's at. Now, it is at a decent level. I took a walk through there today. Obviously, there are some areas like always that we could be better at, and we're gonna try to find ways to raise the bar in that area. But one part of that question too that I just wanted to speak to was, is can we help? Can the neighbors get together and come weed the gardens or help mow the lawns? And the short answer is no, in that we should and we will be able to maintain it so that your job is to come and enjoy the park. But this is something that has been expressed from time to time. And in the past, we did do something similar. I wasn't here at the time, but I believe it was in the sanctuary to help with other invasives there. And perhaps that was with some neighbors that wanted to work alongside our gardening crew to just understand how we maintain that area. So would definitely be open to bringing this topic back. I think it's a great conversation piece for our community advisory group. And maybe there could be a day where we have folks that love to weed the garden can work along with our horticulture team and share some stories and challenges and things like that. But at the end of the day, we have and we will have a full roster of QP 1004 gardeners that take a lot of pride in doing that work. And so we're not at the point right now where we need to say we need extra help, but we do appreciate the patience and also the questions. So I'm happy to answer any further questions on that topic.
Thanks for that update, Jeff. I'll see if there's questions for the board. I do have one quick question, but I'll first see if any board directors have questions. Seeing none, I will ask just out of curiosity, just because it's maybe top of mind for me in my role, but do you have a sense of the cost estimate related to the graffiti removal and vandalism? Just because we're seeing, obviously I'm sort of top of mind for me because we're seeing it more pronounced in certain parts of the city, but do you have a sense of what that's costing us as an organization?
Not off the top of my head, but we are going to start, we would just bill it to a general maintenance account, but given the uptick in activity, we want to do a bit of heat mapping as well to figure out when the trends are, when, typically on weekends is when those types of activities happen, or we discover them typically on a Monday. So I could report back on that, but it is something that we are increasingly challenged with, but I don't have at my fingertips anyway at this moment a cost estimate of what that's taking away from other initiatives.
Yeah, that'd be fine. A report back. Like I said, just ask it out of interest because of the uptick we're seeing across the city. So thanks for that. And then, so that was our last community question. Is that correct, Shelley?
Yes.
I guess just given, maybe deviating from the agenda a little bit, but just given that we have members from the community advisory group on the line, I'm just going to quickly ask if there's any questions from members of the community advisory right now. Jason, I think. Yeah, Jason?
Yeah, hello, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is completely on topic or not, but I'm just wondering what would be the process of potentially having the farmers market run as a year-round type of event?
That's a great question. I love the farmers market too. That might be where that's coming from. They're very popular across the city. Maybe Shelley, did you want to take a stab at that one? And
maybe I'll start, and then I think probably Jeff and Karen are better able to speak to the specifics of our relationship with the association. But so we are a winter market that runs November till May. And my understanding is that it actually has more to do with the availability and location of vendors, because they're already locked into a number of other spots, and there aren't actually enough vendors to fill out a whole nother site of summer market. So they like our site to be full of winter markets. But between the changes that we need to make on site to be able to accommodate events coming through in the summertime and the limited window that we have, in addition to the fact that they're already locked into Trout Lake and a bunch of other farmers market locations, it's actually the Farmers Market Association that doesn't believe that it's feasible. So it's not necessarily us saying no, it's the association that doesn't believe it's a feasible option for the summer. Karen, I can see you nodding, so I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add there, but
nope, that is 100% the reason why.
Thanks for that and for clarifying that, Shelley and Karen. And thanks for the question, Jason. Any other questions before we wrap up? I'm sorry, I'm just doing a quick scan down the screen so I can see if there's anyone else. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So I will thank everyone for joining us, including members of the public and members of the community advisory group and our staff and the board. And we'll have a motion to adjourn. And before that, though, I will just flag that for the board, we are going to have a brief in-camera meeting. So please don't leave, I think, but we have to sort out the technology just to close down the public portion. But I will get a motion to adjourn the public portion. Maury? Can I get a seconder? I'm sure somebody's got their hand up. I might be missing it.
I does.
Ty, thank you, Ty. And all in favor? And that carries. Thank you. So thanks again to everyone who joined us from the public and from the community advisory group, and for the rest of the board. Yeah. We'll hang on